Welcome back to our channel. Today we embark on a journey to explore one of the most profound and transformative stories in human history. We'll dive into the life of Siddhartha Gautama, known to millions around the world as the Buddha. His story is not just a tale of enlightenment, but a universal quest for understanding and peace. Let's discover how a prince became a spiritual teacher who changed the world. In the ancient land of Shakya, where the Himalayas softly kissed the sky, lay a verdant kingdom known for its tranquility and beauty. It was here, amidst blooming gardens and serene landscapes, that a child destined for greatness was born. His name was Siddhartha Gautama. Siddhartha's birth was heralded by celestial signs. A radiant aura surrounded his mother, Queen Maya, as she brought him into the world. The child, though barely able to walk, took 7 steps, each one declaring that he would be a guide to the end of all suffering. The king, Siddhartha, marveled at these omens but chose to shelter his son from the harsh realities of life. In the palace, Siddhartha grew surrounded by luxury. His days were filled with music, dance, and grand feasts. The king, fearing that exposure to the world's sorrows might divert his son from the path of a mighty ruler, carefully ensured that Siddhartha's life was free from the shadows of suffering. Despite the king's best efforts, Siddhartha's heart was restless. The prince, curious about the world beyond his gilded cage, managed to venture outside the palace walls. It was during these rare excursions that Siddhartha encountered the 4 sights that would forever alter his path. The first sight was an old man, frail and bent, whose age was etched deeply into his features. Siddhartha had never before seen such signs of decay and frailty, and a sense of unease took root in his heart. The second sight was even more disconcerting: a sick man, writhing in pain, his body afflicted by disease. Siddhartha felt a pang of sorrow as he realized that illness was an inescapable part of life. The third sight was a funeral procession, where a lifeless body was being carried to its final resting place. The solemnity of the scene struck Siddhartha deeply, confronting him with the reality of death. The fourth sight was a stark contrast: a serene ascetic, wandering with a calm demeanor, despite the hardships he endured. Siddhartha saw in the ascetic a peace that seemed to transcend the suffering of the world. This sight ignited a burning question in Siddhartha's heart: could true contentment be found in renunciation? The realizations brought on by the 4 sights were profound. Siddhartha could no longer ignore the existential questions that plagued his mind. With a heavy heart, he made a decision that would change the course of his life. On a moonless night, he left the palace, abandoning his royal life, his beloved wife Yasudhara, and their newborn son Rahula. Siddhartha's departure was not merely physical, it was a symbolic severance from his former life. He donned simple robes, cut off his hair, and embarked on a journey of spiritual exploration. His path led him to seek wisdom from various teachers and to practice rigorous asceticism. For years, Siddhartha wandered through forests and mountains, seeking answers in extreme self-denial. He lived on scant food and subjected himself to harsh conditions, believing that such austerities would bring him closer to enlightenment. Despite his fervent efforts, Siddhartha found that asceticism alone did not bring him the enlightenment he sought. Realizing that extreme self-mortification was not the answer, he chose a different approach: a path of balance and moderation. This epiphany led him to the banks of the river Naranjana, where he sat beneath a large fig tree, later known as the Bodhi tree. As Siddhartha meditated, he faced a series of trials. Mara, the demon of illusion, sought to deter him with visions of pleasure and power. Yet Siddhartha remained resolute, his mind focused on the quest for truth. Days turned into nights, and Siddhartha's meditation deepened. On the 49th day, as the morning sun cast a golden hue over the world, Siddhartha achieved enlightenment. He had awakened to the true nature of existence and realized the path to liberation from suffering. With his newfound wisdom, Siddhartha emerged from his meditation, now known as the Buddha, or the awakened one. His first act was to share his insights with others. He traveled to Deer Park in Sarnath, where he met with 5 ascetics who had once been his companions. In a clearing surrounded by the quietude of the forest, the Buddha delivered his first sermon, known as the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. He spoke of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, laying out a practical guide for overcoming suffering and attaining enlightenment. The ascetics, initially skeptical, were moved by the clarity and depth of the Buddha's teachings. They became his first disciples, and the wheel of Dharma began to turn. The Buddha's teachings resonated with many, and his community grew. Over the next several decades, the Buddha traveled extensively, teaching and guiding his followers. He spoke to kings, merchants, farmers, and even outcasts, always emphasizing the universality of his message. His teachings were not confined to a particular class or social status, but were accessible to all who sought wisdom. The Buddha's teachings revolved around compassion, mindfulness, and ethical living. He encouraged his followers to practice right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. These principles form the Eightfold Path, a practical guide to leading a fulfilling and ethical life. The Buddha's compassion extended beyond mere words. He was known for his empathetic nature and his ability to address the specific needs and concerns of individuals. His interactions were marked by a deep understanding of human suffering and a genuine desire to alleviate it. As the Buddha approached the end of his earthly journey, he gathered his disciples and offered his final teachings. He spoke of the impermanence of life and the importance of striving diligently on the path to enlightenment. He reminded his followers that they should not cling to him or any external form of guidance, but should seek the truth within themselves. The Buddha's final moments were serene. He passed away in Kushinagar at the age of 80, his body gently releasing into the cycle of impermanence that he had so profoundly understood. His passing was a reminder of the transient nature of life and the enduring legacy of his teachings. The story of Siddhartha Gautama, who became the Buddha, is one of profound transformation and enduring wisdom. His journey from a sheltered prince to an enlightened teacher illuminates the path to understanding and inner peace. The Bodhi tree under which he attained enlightenment became a symbol of the awakening that he sought to share with the world. As centuries passed, the teachings of the Buddha continued to inspire countless individuals across diverse cultures and traditions. His message of compassion, mindfulness, and the quest for inner truth remains as relevant today as it was in ancient India. The tale of Siddhartha Gautama is a reminder that the path to enlightenment is a journey within, guided by the light of understanding and the compassion we offer to ourselves and others. Through the story of the Buddha, we are invited to explore our own potential for awakening and to seek a life of purpose and serenity. Thanks for watching my video.